somebody sent me a game that was actually a Trojan horse. And then he had a chat in the game and says, I can open the CD of your computer. And he's like, open the CD. And I was like, whoa, what the hell is going on? I thought it was like supernatural almost, right? And started to play with stuff in my computer while he was speaking with me over the chat.
Roey Eliyahu, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
Roey, I've been waiting for this episode for a very long time. Salt Security is such an awesome company in a world that I love. I've been playing with APIs since I'm 15, 14, and I led hackathons as a teen. I had a company where we hosted hackathons around the world, and it was all about APIs. Rapid API was founded in one of my hackathons, and so this concept of SaaS to SaaS, software to software communication is awesome. And ever since I went into the world of cybersecurity and I got to experience a little bit about the threat vector of APIs, I was really thinking about, okay, how is this going to manifest itself? And here you are. So I'm really excited to talk about yourself and API security.
Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. We can start whatever you want. I'll just start with a disclaimer that's saying that I'm having a cold in the last few days. So for all the listeners, I apologize for the voice, and I might mute myself here or there to cough. But besides that, we are good to speak about APIs, security, and everything in between.
Absolutely. Well, you're a CEO and entrepreneur, so I think that at this stage you're used to performing at your best everywhere. Taking me back to your enlistment in the IDF, is this where you delved into cybersecurity?
So going even a little bit further, I started coding somewhere when I was 9 years old. My mom signed me up for coding programming class because she saw that naturally I'm being attracted to a computer. I'm intuitively really good at it. Already when I was first, second, third grade, I did some web development when I was 9 years old, and I really loved it. And 2 years later, when I was 11, I started to do some freelance work off forums, and people
As
needed
an
some.
11-year-old does, naturally. Yeah.
Yeah, not like complex stuff, but I started to get more and more into it. And then I always had this entrepreneurial, you know, whatever you want to call it. In Hebrew, there's something that may sound negative in English, but like something inside me that really wanted to build stuff. So I built different websites when I was 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, like different stuff that basically try to monetize different website, building stuff. And then this is where I got into a little bit cyber. I was not an expert by no means, but somebody sent me a game that was actually a Trojan horse. And then he had a chat in the game and says, I can open the CD of your computer. And he's like, open the CD. And I was like, whoa, what the hell is going on? I thought it was like supernatural almost, right? And started to play with stuff in my computer while he was speaking with me over the chat. So this is where I was like fascinated by what the hell is going on. How you send me something, I play like a dumb game and like a very simple game, and then it get controlled. So I got more and more into cyber before the army, not an expert level, but start to understand the concept, how it works, what is Trojan horse, how computer works, and so on and so forth. Then I went to the IDF. I joined one of the elite security units of the IDF, and I was responsible there for building cybersecurity product or systems from the ground up. So we build the hardware, the firmware, the software to protect every layer of communication. So layer one, physical layer, how do you prevent like electromagnetic leak or field leak in layer two and layer three, and then all the way to layer seven. And this is where I saw, layer seven application APIs. I saw that we are really behind, like we're using very traditional methods. There's nothing sophisticated. Like if you look at layer one, layer two, like electromagnetic field, like a lot of sophistication. But layer seven, I thought, wow, that's pretty ancient approach. And then I saw And this is where I really gained my security expertise. This is where I understood that everything I knew was like a drop in the bucket and started to expand through every domain of cyber, from like what you can do, how you can hack hardware, how you can hack firmware, how you can hack software in so many different ways. Um, and after the army, shortly after the army, Docker came out, was very, very new, the container technology. And Kubernetes went out in an alpha version. Nobody talked about it. It was not known. Nobody used it. It was very, very, like, it was just after that I started to wrap my head on, hey, I want to build something. I saw this technology and I thought to myself, wow, that's interesting, because that means that if it's going to work, it's going to basically take every company, every application, and break it to tons of APIs, because every monolith application will be kind of turned apart to microservices. And this is where I really kind of sparked the idea of, okay, APIs, security, something big here is changing, new needs, let's start to explore it.
Yeah, and so you're leaving the army, you see the Docker technology, you expand into the microservices framework and how this is going to change the narrative and the strategy for how different organizations deploy software. When you're looking at it though from a cybersecurity angle and you're thinking, okay, so I can see the different threats that could take place, and just to make sure that we're aligned with everybody that's also here with us, how do you explain those threats to me? So what
Mhm.
could different groups and people do considering this new
Mhm.
communication strategy that's being deployed?
Yeah. So I'll explain through an analogy I think would be easier to understand. So
Yeah.
before pre-Docker, pre-Kubernetes, like in the early 2000s, um, you can think about a company as a building, and the doors and windows are APIs. Companies mostly had monolithic applications that changed every 6 months, every year, right? We were not in a days of agile development and of CI/CD. So it was mostly like, think about like a small house, townhouse, one door, couple of windows. You put a guard at the front door, and it was pretty easy to manage. Kubernetes and Docker really turned this house into a building, and then a neighborhood of building that changing every week, every day, new window, new door being open. So I thought to myself, the first need is to understand what you have. You need to discover. It was very easy to discover when you have only one house, your house, the doors and windows. Once you start to have a neighborhood of buildings, it's very, very hard. So really to map all the windows and doors, that's kind of the discovery part. So I realized that, you can't protect what you don't know. That's kind of step crawl, right? Crawl, walk on. That's the crawl part. The walk part, it's what we call governance. Okay, let's make sure the windows are locked at night, right? Let's make sure that there is no sensitive data can be carried out. So no sensitive things in the house can be carried out by someone, and so on and so forth. So let's make sure that it's built correctly, right? The lock is the right lock and not like an easy lock to hack. And that's the governance part. So making sure that what developers are building is actually built in a secured way before it go to production, to real world application. And also whatever is already built, it's built correctly and securely. That's kind of the second challenge. And if you think about it, before I go to the third challenge, if you think about GenAI and LLMs, it really it's the second compelling event that really made this space much worse, essentially from security perspective. Kubernetes was the first part, right? You have a lot of APIs changing rapidly. Now you can generate an API not in days or weeks, in minutes. So that the frequency of APIs being built and changed with GenAI and with ChatGPT, Claude, you name it, is just incredible. And they're not even controlling what's being coded exactly or really noticing. So you can have a lot of bad security because something generated a code and you can implement it right away, even with very bad security. So it kind of made it even worse, and the need for governance and knowing what you built, if it actually
Right.
comply with your security standards, is really critical. The last part is the run part is threat protection. I realized that majority of the threats that were prevalent in the early 2000, mid 2000 were not a common threat anymore that lead to actual breach in the real world. And I realized that with APIs, you have a lot of manipulation of the business logic of the API. For example, if I'm a bank and I have my mobile app to do everything, like to send money, to receive checks, or whatever it is, it's very easy today. You will not even believe how easy it is to manipulate an API to get information of your bank account, or to even do actions on your behalf. Um, just to give you a stat, we are dealing mostly with enterprises, Fortune 500, Global 2000 companies, and probably in every second organization that we do some type of an evaluation, within 3 days, we see a critical vulnerability. When I say critical, it's not on paper. It means if this vulnerability was or would have been exploited by a bad actor, probably would have cost the company tens of millions of dollars. Like, leaking all their databases, do things behalf on all their users. We even had a study that shows how we can get from crypto exchanges, we can pull all the money out, like tens of millions of dollars, like the worst of the worst. APIs are very weak from a security perspective by design because the people that create them are not incentivized by building securely. They're incentivized by innovate fast, develop fast, which is kind of many times contradicting with security. So
Right.
discover, govern, and then protect whoever try to break your door coming in. You want to keep them away from your building, aka the company.
And Salt is not a new company. You've actually founded it, I believe, almost a decade ago, right? I mean, 9 years ago.
So not exactly true. Like I had the idea about in 2016, so close to it, like late 16 actually, so about 8 years ago. But I realized while there was a lot of validation to the actual threat vector and need, it was not an established category. There was no. So the first actually, what I did first is we went and we did Y Combinator, and I was lucky to be mentored by Sam Altman, that today is the CEO of OpenAI, which was an amazing mentor. So
Wow.
I felt lucky, but I said maybe
Oh,
it's
how was that experience? Getting mentored by Sam Altman at Y Combinator.
definitely that was amazing. It was an amazing guy, and it was in retrospect, I thought to myself 3 years, 4 years later, I wonder how I would have experienced it, knowing everything I know now, and if I would have had the same level of appreciation to Sam, because I always thought was he's amazing, but I thought maybe it's because I'm in the first 6 months of being an entrepreneur. I can tell you for sure, as you can see, it was truly like objectively amazing because you see what an amazing company he's building right now, OpenAI. Um, but in the first 2 years, we raised a little bit of money, but we didn't do our official seed round. It was just cybersecurity angels, like the co-founder of Checkpoint, the co-founder of Lookout, like different, like Asaf Rappaport, like different individuals, great individuals that invested in the company. Um, Only 2 years later, when we felt the market starting to be established, this is where we did our official seed round. So we officially did our seed round with a VC in September 2018. So it's roughly like more 6 years ago, where we went from five
Wow. Okay.
people, and then we really started to expand. Until then, we just patent technology, core technology, like the big data, the ML, like the key part. But building companies started 2.5 years later.
Why was it so important for you to wait and validate and reach a level of maturity of validation before going to and before raising the seed round? Obviously, you're leaving your Y Combinator, elite army unit, big vision, emerging market.
Yeah, it's I realized very quickly, and with Michael, my co-founder, that just for context, Michael was part of the founding team at Avalon, who's today, the co-founders of Wiz. He was their VP of global sales and marketing. So he sold to their first, second, third customer all the way to the acquisition to Microsoft. So we were very mature. And I remember he told me back then look, we are very early. We need to educate because people are not ready to buy. Like sophisticated people understand the need, but we cannot build a company based on just sophisticated buyers. and it will be very hard. So we need to do the groundwork if we want to go for it. Of talking to Gartner, establish a category, went to OWASP, created the OWASP API top 10. Like, I, I didn't imagine that it would be, I thought like 6 months, right? It took more time. Once we felt, okay, we are ready to get, like, to raise money, this is when we went and do it. We didn't want to raise money and then burn it and then not be able to get to the next milestone to raise our Series A and B. So we were a bit more careful. So we started to, like, we raised small money, enough to operate technology, validate it, have design partners, which we did. But we felt like, okay, we're bringing great value to our design partners. They want to pay for it. So when we raised our seed round, we had already three paying customers. We wanted this type of validation before we actually go raise big money and commit for a long-term plan.
Wow, phenomenal. If you had to go back to Roey of when you were just starting out Y Combinator, so now I guess that's 8 years ago. So even before the validation, what advice are you now taking with you? Now is already I'm calling you a seasoned entrepreneur. Uh, what advice would you give to yourself or to younger entrepreneurs?
Wow. So today, the answer to me is very clear. People ask me this question over the years, and every time I would give like slightly different answer based on the spirit of the same year. Today, after almost $300 million in funding, growing the company, selling to hundreds of customers, there's only one answer in my opinion, and it's people. It's all about the people. Don't compromise on talent, especially your executive team, your VP of R&D, the VP of product, the VP of marketing. Like early on, every person you bring needs to be excellent, needs to share the same values as you share, needs to think very similarly to you. What is speed? What is moving fast? The can-do attitude. Don't compromise on less than excellent. I think along the years, we had, again, amazing people, but sometimes they are not a good fit in certain stages or certain people you bring in. And this is where you build a culture. And I think that's the foundation to everything you want to do later. It doesn't matter, like, it will help you with the product, with the marketing, like every aspect of the company. The core layer is the people. So to me, and like there's two main factors in success of a company. One, if you chose the right market, and then the people you have in your company. If those two are correct, everything probably will, in a way, it will be very hard. You need to do a lot of small decisions, but it will work itself out because you have a group of very smart individuals that working hard that share the same values. So people, 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 don't run, like, just be focused on yourselves and like, oh yeah, we hired three engineers. No, like, know them, interview, get familiar with your team, and making sure you always have excellent team. So that's my advice.
I love it. And if I walk into your offices when you're 10 people, so it's the original people, you're building the culture, the sophisticated buyers are there, but the market is still maturing. What do I feel? What's the culture at Salt Security at 10 people?
Um, I think one, and by the way, today we codified it to five things, which I think really started early on. I think it's we worked as one team. People were like, I always brought every sales engineer. When we had the first 10 people, we had the first sales engineer. I brought him to Israel the first 2 weeks of their job because I want to make sure that everybody work as one team. It's not sales and product and R&D. It's like everybody is one team. So they feel very comfortable talking to each other, call each other. So very collaborative. We worked and still working very hard, smart, but also hard because being like an elite cybersecurity unit company is very hard. You know it. So you need kind of to outwork, outbeat, outsmart your competitors. I think very customer obsessed, so very in listening mode to the customer, and not saying, "Oh, they don't know it." Like they are, a bad buyer. They don't get it. Like go to the next one. Every customer I looked at as and everyone in the company is an opportunity to learn why I didn't get it. Maybe our messaging is not good. Maybe the product. Maybe it's not intuitive enough. Always take it as no ego and really understand what's like. Be very open and can do attitude. Like we can do everything. Like the customer need, like I remember in the fourth customer, he said, "Oh, I need this capability. It's really key." and we were competing. Like we had 2 days later, like the POV app. I was like, let's build it today. And like in 2 days, it was a very simple version of it, but we got it done. So like we heard your feedback and we built it. He was like, what do you mean you built it? We said it 2 days ago. He's like, yeah, we're moving fast. He was so impressed by it that he said what one of the reasons why we went with Salt is we're so impressed about how much you took something in and you brought it to life in 2 days. Wow. So that's like the spirit of things in the early days, and even today as well. Obviously, when you go, it's not exactly the same when you have a large base of customers, but it's definitely like the spirit you try to preserve as much as you can.
Roy, this was such a pleasure. 20 minutes go by, and it's not nearly enough to capture the essence of you yourself and of Salt, but I think that it's definitely worth a try. So thank you so much for all the insights. Really appreciating it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.